Gordon, last night the community of Grand Falls, Windsor helped you celebrate your 75th birthday. How was that for you?
Um, it was breathtaking. It really was. First of all, I never expected to be 75, or for anyone to remind me that I was 75. I sure haven't felt it for a long, long time. But once I was told, I think I got arthritis right away. It was one of those things. Um, because it was back here, because it was back home. All these wonderful people put this together. Two or three people, particularly, you know, and they created a, a, a train of energy, you know. They put it all together. And there wasn't a glitch. There was not a glitch in anything, including the people they brought down to surprise me, you know, from Toronto and elsewhere. I was just blown away. I cannot remember a time when such generosity was brought out in public in the way of communicating, you know, certainly when I was growing up, even though it was always a lovely town, great people. But suddenly there was a new sound in the air. There was a new spring in their step. You know, it was a whole new thing, and whole new conversations, topics were created through this particular piece of work. Jed Blackmore he's a master at what he does, and he put together this production, close to 3 hours long, called Out of the Forest, and he asked me to come be part of it, and I did, and I couldn't have been more thrilled. He was right there to handle all of it. He and Craig Gowdy, director and designer. He was just superb, and the townspeople got together in a great mass, something like 300 people on stage, singing the praises of Grand Falls and its history, and I felt so good being part of it all, you know.
You sang a song at the performance, at the production, The Old Part of Town, and I know a lot of memories would come to mind, but is there anything in particular that first comes to mind when you think about the old part of town?
The old part of town, well, again, I got in this business for communication. I got in to try to connect through word or song or whatever else I was doing, and play and so on. Jed did the music for it. I sent him down the lyrics that meant the most to me, in a sense. So that's what he wanted. So so it came together, and I thought, I hope it's the right kind of piece for this production. And apparently it turned out to be, because a good many of the people that I knew here felt the same way, that although a new town is built on top of the old, the history is still there. It's still within reach of all of us, because we believed in bringing the qualities and values of the past down along with us, having them sent to us, and we send them on. And so I felt that the piece might just carry over, you know, and be something that they could all take part in and remember and recall, evoke their own feelings at the time, and how they have stopped now, paused now to celebrate themselves and look back.
You must have sensed the attentiveness. You actually captivated the audience there, and it was went in into late in the evening. I know people, especially Jed Blackmore, he did mention the fact that you never forgot your beginnings. You remained to be with us.
Yes, oh yes, I had to have that, because I began to believe my own work, my own writing and everything, when I began to use material and you know, writing from the spirit and the heart of this place, you know, where I was concerned personally, and just hoped that it would carry over, you know, into viewers, into audience, and readers and so on. So that has just meant the world to me, to be able to do that. It was just a splendid experience to be able to travel back, and whenever I felt like it, wherever I was, and draw from that well, you know, and take it with me wherever I went. It was the most truthful thing I could possibly do, you know.
Gordon, do you ever tire of the fact when people come up to you and say, "Do you remember when? You don't know me, but you know my mom. Can I have my picture taken with you?" How do you react to that all the time?
Yeah, that was pretty That's happened Fairmount, as a matter of fact, you know. You know my sister, you know my mother. I'm 4 days younger than you are, Gordon, you know. That kind of thing went on, you know, and I remember you when you did such and such. And to be perfectly honest, since I left when I was 17, I thought, oh, gee, no, I strongly suspected that maybe I would not be remembered all that well. I was amazed yesterday to find out how many people remembered incidents that I had almost forgotten, including a girl that was in my class. Her name was Bernice, and she had the loveliest face. And I looked at her and I said, I know your face. And she told me who she was, that I had sat behind her in school. I never sat in front of anyone, really, you know. And she said, you signed my autograph book. In those days, kids went around with their autograph book getting, you know, Valentine greetings and stuff like that to the girls they had crushes on, and vice versa, and so on. Anyway, she brought it the following day, and there was my terrible writing, still terrible, but there it was, with a little poem that I put together. It said something like, when you are married and your husband is cross, something, you know, tell him you're the boss. Signed, Gordon Porky Pinsent. That was my, you know, that was my...
Name was attached.
Oh, heavens, yeah. So, but I don't know, the fascination of just seeing your own writing, 1942, you know? I was tickled to death that she had all of these, you know.
Gordon, you were quoted as saying, we should always remember, and I quote, we should always remember to tell our stories to ourselves. Why is that?
Well, as we all know, I mean, for years and years and years, you know, we have been a bit shouldered to one side by the larger culture in the States, or not larger culture, but the pushy the pushy markets out there, you know, who have taken over the markets in the way of distribution and marketing of work, in my business, certainly. And we've had the worst possible job of trying to get things off the ground. You were always getting up in the morning, explaining who you were and why you did what you did. So the arts had not been included in an awful lot of life in this country for so long. In each case, each job was a little lifetime in more ways than one, because you had to start all over again. It was a country of beginnings. You know, Canada was. It's a bit like the train going through. You hear the commotion, one goes, you wait for the next. And it's all the separations, the lifelines that have been cut already, you know, in this country. And I've always thought of the arts as probably there with Band-Aids in order to try to patch them together again and get our stories told. They are just as, you know, the past is just as vibrant, really. We simply have not taken advantage of that kind of thing. And you know, all of us who are in this industry have thought, this is, it's just not right. You know, we have so much to offer, so much to offer. And yes, our next door neighbor is right next door, and that's where it's been different from places like Australia, where they have their own, you know, film industries going, and they do tell their stories. Quebec and so on. Quebec does it, a separate language, but we have had a rough old time of it. In a strange way, though, it's still worth it. It's still worth it because of the work we put into it, the amount of quality we try to get out of smaller budgets. You know, they showed the Rowdy Band when I was here again, and that was done with the amount of money that Spielberg would have spent, you know, on coffee for one of his. You know, there's so many things, and you want to do them all. You know there's material. I thought we would all do that. I thought by now this industry would be, you know, very fulsome, you know, in the sense of doing things for ourselves. Has to be done. That is the conversation of the land that has to be heard, you know, and then the further understanding of our peoples right across this country will be far more apparent, you know, far more evident. And I want to be aboard that train. I want to be aboard it. So when people talk to me about retirement, I say there's nothing to retire from. I love what I do, every day of it, you know. Study of the human spirit, study of, you know, the human comedy, getting things off the ground that means something to you and maybe to someone else in this very country. I'm working where I want to live. Yeah.
You acted in a lot of roles. Do you have a particular role that brought you a lot of satisfaction?
Satisfaction has come from almost everything. I've often said and said to younger actors, take something from whatever you do. Take something home from whatever you do. Whatever it is. And it may not be up to your standards. It may not be the finest thing you'll ever come across. But just go for it. And if you feel you need to, find your reason for doing it. If there are no reasons, then don't. But it is like a pearl necklace. It is, and one by one, these things add up for your experience, add up for the storytelling, and so all of that is there. The Rowdy Man was a turning point, very much a turning point for me. But the big turning point before that was the Member of Parliament series called Quentin Durgan's MP. We shot it in Ottawa and Toronto. That was important. And then along came Rowdy Man because I didn't want to get stuck into a kind of stereotype. And I had done quite a bit of that anyway in certain areas. But then, when this happened, the Rowdy Man happened, I was really kind of speaking from my imagination, but at the same time being as truthful and as believable as I could possibly, be. And it made great sense, I think.
The up close and personal now for a moment. I know you drew a lot of inspiration. You were a thinker and a talker, they said. And you used to visit the Cove, sat on a rock. You shared that with us last evening. And you would go over scenes in your mind. You would probably play different roles in your head, and you dreamed. You've come to Grand Falls. You're a man of many accomplishments. The existing Arts and Culture Center here has been renamed to honor you. And is Gordon Pinsent living his dream?
Oh, yes, with every step, Far more conscious of it now than I ever have been. From the standpoint of, there was a period of time, and a long period of time, when you're driven. You want these things. You want to be able to take these steps, all the way to perfect your craft and all of that, and grow by popularity as well, I suppose, in order to make it possible for you to get other things done, It's all part of the dream. There's no two ways about it. And the variety in it is what keeps me going and what keeps me, wanting to continue, because there's wonderful variety. But they're all voices and sounds that are out of a extended reality kind of thing, whatever works, you pick up. Admiring the writers of all kinds and bringing it all home to your heart, to your soul, and there's a terrific feeling about that. I am living the dream. I truly am. When we were down in Los Angeles for a while, Trudeau was in, and Trudeau talked a lot about identity at that time. And I turned to Charm and I said, I got one. Whatever else I do, I'm working now from the base of Newfoundland, Now, if that ain't going to speak to people, then I don't know what else I'm going to use, because I'm not interested in hiding behind characters that have that are not in touch.
Well, we love you for that. And it's been my privilege to talk with you today, Gordon. I know you're extremely busy. You're getting ready to head back tomorrow. Again, happy 75th birthday, and thanks so very much.